Cattle, and especially calves, seem to be particularly prone to lead poisoning. Probably several thousand head are lost each year. Unfortunately, it often happens that the first the farmer knows about it is finding one of his animals dead. In such a case, when there have been no symptoms to give a clue to the cause, the proper thing to do is to call in his veterinary surgeon to diagnose the cause of death. The veterinary surgeon will carry out a post-mortem examination of the carcass, and if he suspects lead poisoning, he will submit the liver and kidneys for laboratory examination. The analysis of tissue taken from the kidneys or liver will confirm whether death was due to lead poisoning. If lead poisoning is found to be the cause of death, the first consideration must be the safety of the rest of the bunch. To find out whether they have been affected at all, the veterinary surgeon will take blood and feces samples for laboratory examination. A laboratory test will show whether the poisonous lead compounds have been picked up. The effects of lead poisoning develop so quickly that no time must be lost in treating any affected animals. The tubes showing the red color indicate positive reaction. The other calves have already been moved to the safety of fresh quarters. There are certain chemicals which the veterinary surgeon may use for treatment, and the job is best left in his hands. It may be successful if the victim can be treated in time. Treatment is not always successful, however, and the only sure way is control, which means finding and removing the source of the lead compounds. It is a case of prevention being better than cure. In this case, the trouble arose in the calf pen, but there are other places about the farm where danger may lurk, particularly for older animals. The farmer will have to play the role of detective. Only by ferreting out and removing every possible source of lead to which animals could have access is he likely to prevent others in the herd from going the same way. Anything that cattle could get at, in and around the yard, coming and going to pasture or milking shed, will have to be examined. Poisonous lead compounds lurk in some commonplace objects which might not ordinarily be thought of as dangerous. The fact that cattle, especially calves, are so prone to lead poisoning, no doubt is due partly to their inborn curiosity and their natural tendency to lick, suck, or chew almost anything. Housing conditions often induce boredom, and with the housed calf, this natural curiosity will make it sample almost anything within reach. Anything coated with a lead-based paint is a potential killer. Tests have shown that there is enough lead in the paint on a square foot of surface to kill a calf. Not much, is it? Whitewashing over paint is not enough. The cattle will soon be through that. If you must use paint, there are lead-free paints to be had, but bitumen or creosote are other alternatives. Now, what about out of doors? Well, the possibilities can be surprisingly numerous. Some materials used by plumbers, for instance, contain white and red lead. But remember that pure lead is not in itself particularly poisonous. To cattle, it is the oxides, like red lead, in the putty here being used to seal a joint, and the carbonates used in paint, which are very toxic. 95% of confirmed cases are found to have been caused by paint or painted materials. So if you are arranging for some of your buildings to have a lick of paint, remember what a lick of paint can do to a calf, and see that your men don't leave such things lying about where cattle can reach them. Now, here's another possibility, the rubbish heap. Just the place for curious cattle to rummage if they're allowed to. Commonly found in such places are old paint tins, painted lino, painted panels, old car and tractor batteries, and so on. All these things have at some time or other been traced as having caused the death of cattle by lead poisoning. So get rid of your rubbish. This is the only way to prevent lead poisoning, finding and removing the source. This is the only sure way to safeguard your herd. The symptoms of lead poisoning are not particular or striking. Once the onset has started, the toxic effect develops very rapidly, and the condition is very difficult to check. Treatment, for all practical purposes, really applies only to the group of animals which has been associated with an affected animal. The first signs are usually dullness, loss of appetite, and perhaps constipation. These symptoms are not, of course, specific to lead poisoning, but as soon as an animal appears dejected or off its food, like this calf in the corner, it is advisable to let your veterinary surgeon look at it as soon as possible. If you want to make sure that lead poisoning does not attack your animals, you must see that dangerous rubbish is not left lying about, that painters' and plumbers' materials are safely removed from within reach of the herd, and that any paint used where cattle can get at it is of the lead-free kind. So remember that prevention is better than cure. By taking the precautions we have shown, you can safeguard your herd against lead poisoning.